Welcome to the WriterFest podcast, where we celebrate writers, those magical, mysterious minds who pen the books we read, the songs we sing, and the shows and films we binge. I'm your host, Amy McConnell, publishing veteran, book doctor, and author, and there's nothing I love more than connecting writers with the people who make great art happen.
Welcome back to the WriterFest podcast. In this episode, we'll dive into the creative journey of best-selling thriller author Kiersten Modglin. Kiersten shares her path from aspiring writer to full-time author, balancing family and creativity, and offers a behind-the-scenes look at the self-publishing world. She also reveals what it takes to succeed in the industry, the unconventional methods she uses to stay inspired, and why being hands-on in every part of her work has helped her connect with readers. She'll be joining us at WriterFest Nashville, which is coming up very soon on November 22nd and 23rd. We hope to see you there, but for now, enjoy this episode.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the WriterFest podcast, Kiersten.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
This is our first, I'm just being letting listeners know this is our first real meeting in real life, IRL. Oh, wait, that's not the right abbreviation. In real life. And yes, it is. It was. But I feel like I know you already. So I'm excited to introduce listeners to you, Kiersten Modglin. You're calling in, even though we're kind of neighbors. You're calling in from close by.
Yeah.
Where you're in Nashville, yeah?
Yeah, I'm outskirts, like Murfreesboro area, but outside of, I always say Nashville. No one knows where Murfreesboro is, but yes, Nashville area.
I know where Murfreesboro is, girl. Yes, of course I do. I'm in Franklin, so we're just close to each other. I'm so glad to have you on the podcast, and I'm so glad to introduce people to you if they don't already know you, which they oughta. And I bet we've got some listeners hopping on the podcast who've never heard of WriterFest because they've heard of you. Like they're gonna be tuning in, which makes me super, super happy. Yay. You have so much to be proud of, and I'm sure there's so much we're going to learn from you today. So you're going to have to rein me in.
Sounds good. I'll do my best.
Questions. I have so many questions. I guess, can you tell us a little bit about what you're working on right now? What does your day look like today as a working author who makes a great living at writing on the daily? That's one reason why I'm excited to have you on the oh Lord, see, now I'm rambling. Kiersten, tell us what you're working on right now.
Yeah, so every day looks a little different. I write every day, typically 6 or 7 days a week, but at least 5. So I treat it very much like a day job, and I write 6 to 8 hours a day, just depending on whether it's a writing day or if I have edits going on. Obviously, editing days are the only days I'm not writing, but I'm still writing sort of. So yeah, I work all day, and I'm a one-woman team other than my my editing and proofreading team. So I do my own covers. I do all the admin stuff, like keeping up my website, sending newsletters, running ads. So yeah, I have to be really, really diligent with my time. And lucky for me, I'm like a checklist spreadsheet person. So I have everything really planned out, and it makes things a whole lot easier. But yeah, I every day looks a little different, and I just try to write every day and get lots of admin and all of that stuff in when I can.
Wow. I'm so, just as somebody who's read your books and seen your profile, I just assumed you had a team because you are rocking on all the levels. I always love when authors are sort of the CEO of their own career, and they clearly are at the helm driving the Bronco or the G-Wagon or whatever. And it's so clear that you are the master of your artistry, and I love that about you. I had no idea you were doing it all.
Yeah, I came into it not knowing anything about this business. I didn't know anyone who was an indie author. I didn't know anyone in the publishing world, and I just kind of figured it out. YouTubed my way through, learning how to the very basics of how do I upload a book, and how do I at that time I still had a cover designer and did hire out for a lot more than I have to at this point in my career. I'm a little over 8 years in now, but I really just kind of taught myself and learned how and made a lot of mistakes along the way. And I really love having control. That's something that I've learned about myself. I didn't know that about myself when I first got in. I was just like, I want to have a book out there. I want to have readers, reading my stories. And as I've kind of gotten into the weeds of it and tried different paths, I've really figured out that my heart is in the control of my stories and knowing that, whatever I'm putting out there is something that I'm proud of, something that really came from me and doesn't have too many hands in it. And yeah, I really like all the aspects. I like seeing what ads work and why and figuring out, what readers are responding to. And it also helps me feel really close to my readers because I feel like
Mm.
we have, a lot more one-on-one interaction than maybe I would if I'd chosen a different path. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I'm a little bit of a control freak.
Gosh, no. I mean, I wouldn't please don't say control freak because what you're doing is rocking. You're doing
Thank
such a good, and when you just said now you do your own covers, I'm like, what in the world? Because your covers are fantastic.
Thank you. I had some experience with photography before I started
Mhm.
writing professionally, and so I had some graphic design experience, but not a lot. And I certainly didn't know anything about designing covers. And so when I first started, like I said, I hired designers, and then what I would do is make my own cover and then hire a designer. And until I felt like mine matched the quality of theirs, I would just use theirs. And it was about my fifth or sixth book where I was like, yeah, mine's good. And so I used it, and then I went back and recovered my past one so that I can control it. When I want to update blurbs on the back or change the cover for whatever reason, I can just go in and do all of that. And again, it's another aspect of like wanting control of it, I guess. But it's really nice to know that I can make all the changes that I want, and it's not I don't have to email someone else to do that. So
Right. Yeah. Wow. 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 Okay. So at this point, I mean, listeners who are just catching up to speed
yeah,
haven't probably don't realize what like you said 8 years, but
yeah,
there are dozens and dozens and dozens of books by Kiersten
yeah,
Modglin.
yeah.
Tell us.
I just published my 48th book.
Mm,
So I have been going at it, and like I said, this, full-time job, I write nonstop. Obviously the first few years I still worked a day job, and I have a 7-year-old now, but a baby at the time.
wow.
And so it was a lot of late nights. I worked at a bank, and so I would get up at like 6 a.m., drop her off at daycare, go to work, and then come back home, do dinner and all the bath time, bedtime stuff.
Mhm.
Put her to bed at like 8 o'clock, and then I'd be up till 2 or 3 in the morning every morning writing. Go back to sleep, get back up at 6, and so for years, for the first 4 years of my career, I did that. And then, funny story, and I hope like it's okay to just kind of go into this, but
Yeah,
so
go.
I was kind of at a point where I felt like I could do this. Like my writing had taken off enough that it was almost replacing my salary at the bank. And my husband still worked full time, and so I was like, if we're not paying for daycare and we're not paying for my gas, then maybe I can do this and I don't have to run on 4 hours of sleep anymore. And like, let's just try it, and then I can go back to work if I have to. And so we did that in November of 2019. Um, and so then the pandemic happened and my husband got laid off. And so we went from having, three careers technically with my writing to having just my writing. And so it was a really panicked like 6 months, I would say. But then by the time that it was time for him to go back to work in like June, I was making enough that I was making more than both of our incomes before. So he just got to stay home, and he's been home and like helping with my business ever since. So it was a terrifying, like I said, few months, but it ended up being the most like amazing blessing. And so yeah, it's been a wild journey, but I'm glad I don't have to run on 4 hours of sleep anymore.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I don't think that was a tenable situation. How
No.
many hours of sleep do you get now, reckon?
Oh man, I sleep like a baby now, like 8 or 9 at least.
Me too. I need my sleep, girl. I need my sleep. I love my sleep. But but you clearly prioritized your life just like you do now in such a way that you made your own dreams come true. I love
Yeah,
that. That's such
thank
an
you.
inspiring story. So tell us what, so I've read a little bit about this part myself, but I want you to share your story about like a lot of times people say they came to writing kind of late, but not you.
Yeah, no,
You
I've always been a writer. My mom has folders and folders of stories, short stories, and poems and things that I would write. And as soon as I could write, physically write. So I was writing stuff in second, third grade. And then I wrote my first novel in the fourth grade, which is called The Life and Times of the Three Potatoes. And it was
Wait a second. The three potatoes.
Three Potatoes.
All
It
right
was
then.
my it was my take on Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, if
Yes.
you've heard those books. So
Yes, of course.
they were three best friends that called themselves potatoes, and they had these rules about like things they had to do to be in this friendship group. It was
Oh
I don't know,
gosh.
but so that's where it all started, like actually writing stories, and then by the time I got to junior high and high school, I was writing a novel every summer. I'd go home and I'd spend the 2 months off writing a book, and I would bring it back. And it started out that just like a few of my teachers would want to read it. But by the time I graduated, I had a list of people, teachers and students, who wanted to read whatever book I came back with. And so I only had one, printed out paper copy, and I'd put it in like a binder. And I literally had a list of people, and I would cross somebody off the list when they turned it back in and take it to the next person. Um, and so, yeah, it was
Super
just for me, it
special.
was always about getting my stories out there, letting people read them. So, yeah, I definitely started early and have always known what I wanted to do.
Amazing. Please tell me you have one of those binders.
I do, and actually, the third book that I published, it's called The Missing Piece.
Mhm.
It was one of those books. It was a book I wrote when I was 15. It's the third book that I ever published, but the first book that has made it to publishing that I wrote. And so after I published my first two, I kind of went back and looked through some of those binders and, flash drives eventually, and I found that one, and I was like, this is actually a fun story, and so I, edited it again as an adult. But yeah, it was really cool to kind of go back, and I have one that's called it's called Bella Beauty, but it's about like Greek goddesses. Like a girl finds out she's a descendant of a Greek goddess, and so that was really fun. But it's very out of my wheelhouse now, so I don't know that it'll ever see the light of day. But it came very close to it because I do love that story.
Pen name. You hit the
Yeah,
name.
exactly.
Wow, Kirsten, that's so inspiring. I know a lot of our I know when we do WriterFest, which you're going to be there this year. I'm so
I am. I'm so excited.
excited. We're going to be in the large theater so everyone can pack in.
Nice.
But I was going to say at WriterFest, we encourage students to come. And so we have a lot of students that come, and sometimes they're even like field trips full of writing classes who come and things. And it's just so cool for us to hear what you just shared, because it tells me like there's no right time to start writing and there's no wrong time. It's
Right.
great if you can start young. That's fantastic. It's
Yeah.
obviously really prepared you for where you are, which has met so many of our needs in terms of readership. Tell me why psychological thrillers?
Yeah, so I always loved mysteries. I, grew up watching Scooby Doo and reading Nancy Drew books, and I loved ghost stories. And as I got older, I started reading more detective thrillers and crime thrillers. And then I read Gone Girl. And
Mhm.
when I read Gone Girl, I was writing my first book, which ended up being a legal thriller because that's kind of what I was reading at the time. But when I read Gone Girl, I was like, this is the type of story I want to write. I fell in love with that story. I fell in love with the characters and the way that I felt like I could almost relate to them more than maybe detectives, where it was just such a different world for me.
Mhm.
And I really
Mhm.
love the like domestic aspects of that story. And
Mhm.
so yeah, after that I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. And I just fell in love with it. I started, reading more in that genre, which I feel like Gone Girl kind of grew that genre
Right, I agree.
to
Yeah.
be as popular as it is. And so obviously I'm not the only one who feels that way, but I started reading more and more, and I love it. I think it's so fun, and I think it's, at least for me, it's their characters and storylines I can relate to. Like this character could
Mm.
be me, if I took the
Mhm.
wrong turn, or if I was extra nosy about my neighbors or whatever. I think they're such relatable stories, and you can see how you could end up in their shoes if you took the wrong path. So
Right. Wow. Yes, yes, yes. It does kind of put you in a weird headspace though sometimes, doesn't it? I mean,
yeah.
you walk around in this headspace.
Oh, yeah. I literally, like I said, my husband, is home full time. He's a stay-at-home dad with our daughter, and we homeschool. So, like, house is full of kids or with of people all day, and I'll go downstairs like to get lunch, and I'm in the middle of writing a scene, and they're trying to talk to me about things, and I'm like, I just murdered someone upstairs. Give me a minute. Like, there's a lot going on in my head right now. So it's yeah, it definitely takes it out of you. And there are days where I go home downstairs, and I'm like, I'm exhausted. I feel like I worked, a 12-hour shift in a factory. Like, I am so tired. My body and my mind are just exhausted, and it definitely, depending on the subject matter that you're writing about, it definitely can take it out of you for sure.
Right. You boy. I'm thinking about Gillian Flynn. What would that have been like?
I
2014, maybe.
Yeah, 14 or 15. Yeah,
I got to meet her. Have you gone to Southern Festival of Books before? So
I
the Southern
haven't.
Festival of Books in
Yeah,
Nashville, I go every year like clockwork. And I remember I saw her, and so I kind of went over to talk to her that year. And I was in anyway. I said I'm reading your book right now. I can't believe you're here. And I said I love it. It's so good. And she said, I remember I felt chastened because she said, talk to me when you're done. Some people don't like it.
oh, oh
And she
no,
wasn't rude at all, but
yeah,
she gave me a look of like skepticism, like, are you sure you're gonna like it? Because not everybody loves how it ends. Which is, I bring that up because I mean, I think a lot of us learned how to interact with books in a different way based on psychological thrillers. I think before Gone Girl, which is obviously very domestically oriented,
yeah,
the sort of the world of thrillers was more oriented around espionage and more around like imminent threat from external forces.
yeah,
And I think a lot of us kind of went, oh wow, that the bad guy could be inside my own home, it could be inside my own chest. And that
exactly.
sort of spun us out into thinking new ways. Is and you're bringing up the fact that that can be in your head as you're walking around. Why do you think psychologically we're wired to want to have those puzzles in our heads?
Oh man, I don't know. I think everybody is spending so much time trying to figure out the world around us. Whether
Mm,
you watch true crime or you're just seeing stuff on the news or, you're just watching fictional shows. I think we all just want to understand the world better. At least
mm,
I know I do. I want
mhm,
to understand why people do the things they do, why choices are made, especially when they feel so different than
mhm,
choices you'd make or feel like very different people than you are. And and so I think for me, it's interesting. I almost compare it to like, especially as the writer, to playing a role. You get to get inside the head, almost like you're an actor, of someone vile, and just kind of play that out and be like, what is this? Why? What makes them tick? And so for me as a reader, I really like reading different points of view and different things that obviously, like, I hope to never experience, but I think it all feels more real and more scary because it is something that feels so close to your situation or who you are, or you could be walking down the street and just end up in the wrong place. And so for me,
mhm.
it's just curiosity, I think.
And sort of meaning making. I hear you say,
Yeah,
finding the meaning. I loved, for me, one of the special things about your writing is that you really drop us into the headspace of that person, such that we're looking at all the in the varying points of view. We're looking at the world around us in very distinctive ways. You can open up the books and go, I land on a line and go, I know exactly whose head I'm in right now,
yeah,
versus maybe a more a further away perspective. I love that.
yeah.
How do you get at that structure? How do you come at the story from the POV first, or do you have the storyline and then dissect? What is your methodology for creating the story world?
Yeah, so one of the things I always say, almost always, 48 books, probably 45 of them, I come at them from the twist first. So typically I know what the twist will be, and then I kind of build my world and my characters around that. Sometimes the characters or the premise come to me first, but typically it's like, I really think this twist could be cool. How do I create that?
Mm,
Um, but one of the things, I'm not the type of writer who, I know some writers who have character sheets and they know their favorite food and their favorite color and what their childhood trauma. I kind of discover that as I go.
mm,
So I really get into when I start the book, I don't know the character either. I'm just kind of exploring and figuring out. And you've probably heard writers say, I had a plot, but the characters took me this direction. I do outline, but that's very much the case for me. I'm like, they're supposed to be fighting in the scene. Why aren't these characters fighting? And so, the characters really do kind of take on a life of their own. But I really like writing characters that I can relate to. Like I said, I want them to have something in them that I see as like the human part that's part of myself maybe, or part of people I know.
Yeah.
I also really enjoy like the dialogue, and I tend to write even the descriptive parts pretty dialogue-y. One of my favorite compliments that I got from a reader, they were just posting on Facebook, and they said, Kiersten Modglin writes stories like it's your best friend telling you a story, and you're just listening to it. And so I really just I was like, I want to frame this. I love that so much.
Yeah.
My books aren't literary masterpieces. I just have fun with the actual story more than, trying to like make them necessarily like beautiful writing, I guess. So I just think like being inside their head or getting to play around with different perspectives in that way is super fun, because you do get to kind of give them their own voice and write the way that people talk.
I love that. And I agree with your reader. I think that's actually very true. But I do want to kind of pick on that just a little bit to say, like, are they beautiful? Like, and you're saying that is less important to you than having that be a compelling read. Talk about that a little bit. Like, what is that tension, and is it a real tension, or is that, because I know what you're talking about, but I would love for you to just sort of play with that a little bit.
Yeah. So sometimes I read books and I'm like, oh my gosh, this writer has such beautiful language, and the way that they like describe things, and it's stunning. And I don't have that. Like, I can admit that I don't. I love writing. I love, like I said, the storytelling is so important to me. In my mind, my writing is not what theirs is. When you're reading like literary fiction, especially, where it's just very, I'm not a visual reader or writer. So when I'm writing, and there's a scene playing out and there's a house or a setting or whatever, I don't see it in my head. So most often, if you see something described in my books, I've pulled up an image on Google and I'm describing what I'm looking at. Characters, same thing. I have to have like a celebrity in mind, because I can't just visualize a character without something concrete. And so for me, I know that like my strength is in the dialogue. It's in the characterization more than the description. And so, yeah, that's just, and I feel like when I read books, most often I go to books like that. And so, I'm kind of strengthening that skill that I already have. And by reading stuff like that, and I try to challenge myself more often with reading books that are descriptive. But as a reader who's not visual, that can be hard for me. And so, yeah, I don't necessarily think there's like a right or wrong way to do it. It's just what readers are looking for. And I have some readers that are like, I have ADHD and I love your books because I don't have to imagine, all these scenes. And I always say, don't tell me what the house looks like. Tell me what's going on inside the house. I just really like to get straight in, like you said, just drop you into the action and the scene that's happening. And who cares what color the wallpaper is? If that's important, we'll figure it out. But I find, as a non-visual reader and writer, I find description to be difficult.
That's so good. You did a great job explaining that. I think one thing that's coming up for me, because I consider myself more a reader than anything else, and I feel like I'm more than anything else. Yeah, probably. Like even more than maybe being, wife and mom and all those things. I'm probably reader first and foremost. But one thing that's coming up for me is I think I really want to co-create with the author as a reader. I want to be a part of that storytelling. And if that for me usually means listening well, reading well and being attentive to what the author is pointing my attention to. And I think as you're describing it, I feel like you're really allowing for a lot of participation on the part of the reader / listener, because we are filling in some of those blanks, what the wallpaper looks like ourselves. You're really holding us by the hand and saying, I trust you to create those things, but listen to my voice, listen to the sound of my voice as I'm telling you what the dialogue is. And as I'm telling you what the, where you should be looking. And then you're going to we can trust that you're going to masterfully weave it together so that we are constantly surprised and finding meaning in what you've done. That's fabulous. I love that.
Thank you.
That's so
Yeah.
interesting. When you say those are the things that you're drawn to, I'm wondering what you read.
Yeah. So,
Fun.
and now I hate to name any authors because I don't want them to feel like I'm saying that they don't write description well, because that's not at all what I mean. But
No, I don't think anybody could have taken that away from what you just said.
okay, good. Some of my favorite. I love B.A. Paris. I love Jodi Picoult. I love. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna totally blank. Mark Edwards is one of my favorites. I have a very good friend who writes amazing psychological thrillers. Her name's Emerald O'Brien. Um, Adele Parks is another one who I just absolutely adore. And I feel like, kind of in the same vein of what I'm saying, they write very easy reads. They're ones that you just kind of drop into and can really devour. And that's what I look for most often. I will say my favorite book of all time is not even a thriller, and it's very descriptive, but it's The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab.
Yeah.
I had to do audio because I struggle again with like description. But the audio, that book is so fabulous, and the actual story of it was just amazing. And she's one that I was thinking of when I was like, their language is so beautiful. I love the way she writes. But yeah, the others that I mentioned are ones that I've read almost all their books and just love them.
Wow. So you really are reading in the same genre in which you write.
I do. I read some romance, and I read thrillers, and that's really it. I read nonfiction occasionally, but that's pretty much it. I don't really, venture too far outside of my lane as a reader or writer.
When you're reading nonfiction, do you read about the way we think and behave?
No, most often I'm reading like writing books, craft books.
Oh, okay.
One of my favorite nonfictions, though, is Shonda Rhimes' book, Year of Yes.
Yeah.
I reread that book every year. It is my favorite. I discovered it in 2020, and it was such just a like timely for where I was in my life. That book meant so much to me, and I have reread it at least once a year, every year since, and every year I take something new from it. So
she's on my fantasy list. If anybody on her team is listening to this, I would like for her to be a keynote at WriterFest.
Oh
She's
my gosh,
amazing.
Amazing. I'm such a huge fan of hers.
So that book came out when I was at Simon and Schuster, so I read it too, and I had a copy.
Nice.
I was not her editor at all. Listen, this is a terrible segue, but I just wanted you to see that I have a candle burning here. Our listeners can't see that, but there is a candle burning. You can pick up from our dialogue, which I love to write with a candle lit, and I read that you do the same.
I do.
Tell us about your scent and song what is that called?
Hack, my life hack.
Yes, your life hack.
Yeah. So this is something I've done, since I started writing to publish. I would sit down, I would always have a candle burning, and I would have a song going. And I realized that if I had just music going, it would distract me. I would start singing along, or whatever. So I would just play one song. I would pick one song. It didn't even necessarily always fit the story. It was just a song that I liked, or that really, got me excited to write the story. And I would just play it on repeat until it basically became kind of white noise. And then as I was writing, I figured out that playing that music and burning a candle, it was getting all of my senses involved. And so when I would start, we'd be in the car and I'd hear that song, and suddenly I was like plotting. I'm like, oh, this would be really cool. And this, or I'd, open the candle and smell it. And so I was like, I can only do these things when I'm writing, because it just puts me in that world. And so from that moment, I have started picking a song and a scent, or a few songs and a scent for each book. And I had done that for, 30 books. And one day I did like a Facebook Live with my readers, and I mentioned that. And by the end of the live, I had like 30 emails from people asking for me to send them that song and scent list. And so I had to go back through and figure out what all the songs were. But I now keep it on my website, and so everybody can go and see for each book what the song and scent is. But yeah, it wasn't intentional at all, but it was just kind of something fun that I did, and then I didn't think it was that interesting, but readers seemed to really like it, and so I put it out there. But it really does. I mean, the second I open the candle, I don't even have to light it. The second I open it, I smell, and I'm suddenly in the world of the story. So
That
it's
is
really cool.
such a good mental hack. It's
Yeah.
so smart. I know that with me, when I'm working on a book, I can't listen to music with lyrics because it
Mhm.
will take over my
Yeah.
thinking around whatever that is. But now that I've learned this hack from you, I'm gonna employ that for sure. I love it, especially the scent. I mean, engaging any of the other senses is such a wise thing to do because it instantly takes you to that
Exactly.
place.
It's like that scent memory, you smell something from childhood and you're there, and that's how it works for me. And I like, now that I know readers are gonna see the songs and scents, I try to make them fit with the story more. And like I said before, I didn't necessarily, it was just whatever candle I was burning at the time. But now, like if there's lavender, like if they have a lavender plant, I'll burn a lavender candle. Or I had a reader send me a candle called Monkey Farts, and it smelled like bananas. And so I was like, when she sent it, I was like, this is going in a book. So I wrote a book called The Reunion, and it's at a like old hotel. And the hotel smells like bananas, and in all the rooms they have like a gift basket, and the monkey farts candle is in it. So that was fun.
Oh, that's fabulous. I love that so much. Oh my goodness. That's a great one. I love that. I wanted to ask you about you have such a strong sensibility around your own art. As I've said, I really admire that. And we're bringing you to WriterFest to talk about how to make a living as an artist. And I think there's so much we can learn from you on that. Who do you learn from? Not about the craft, because I understand that you're really serious about learning the craft and all the business principles of it. But like, do you have any heroes that guide you a little bit in terms of what your virtues, what your values are, and where your north is?
Yeah, I think when I started, being an independent thriller author in 2016, there weren't a lot of indie thriller authors. There are so many now, and it's amazing, but there really weren't. And so I was looking at the traditional authors and their path, the business model that they had laid out. They weren't doing a lot of social media in most cases. Um, I don't know that they had like newsletters, all the things that I was being told as an independent author to do. I didn't really see that being like carried out with traditional authors, and so I really struggled. And what I ended up doing was kind of following romance authors. And so there was a huge indie romance community. And so I was like, well, I'm going to watch what they're doing because they seem to be killing it. And it's not the same genre. So a lot of what they were doing, as far as teasers and things like that, didn't really work. A sexy man on a cover, like in a teaser, works really well. And then you have like a serial killer. It's just not, it doesn't convert. But I was like, I can watch what they're doing on certain things, and put that into my own work. And see how it translates. And so I really started watching a lot of indie romance authors, and the number one that I can say is Colleen Hoover,
Mm.
who has just, I mean, she's phenomenal, book writing wise, but just as a person, the way that she interacts with her readers, the way that she has built such a community. Right now I'm getting cold chills thinking about it. Like, I have watched her, and she started in 2012, I believe. And like I said, I've watched her since 2016, and just watching everything that she's built, but also the way that she's kept her integrity, kept like, I feel like her commitment to her art and her stories and her readers. It's just something like that I really admire, and something I try to put into the way that I do my business, and my branding and everything. I will say, like, there are a ton of other authors that I really looked at too. Candy Steiner is one. I think she's fabulous, and the way that she does her like marketing is just amazing. But Colleen Hoover for me, Megan Brandy is another one that I really admire, and I think they really taught me about brand in general, because when I started out, like I said, I had no idea what I was doing. I thought brand was a logo that I paid somebody to create.
Uh-huh.
And so watching them really build a brand throughout everything, throughout their socials and their website and their newsletter, and the way that they interacted and the way that they dressed at signings, and um, their lane with their books, it was really eye opening. And it's still something that I watch to this day. And like I said, now there are a ton of indie thriller authors out there, and I get to watch them all, blossom and be amazing too. But when I started out, like I mentioned, my friend Emerald O'Brien, she had started in 2014, so she was 2 years ahead of me, and we both talked about that often of like there's not really anyone to look at. So the indie romance community was really great to watch and figure out how to make that all work for this side of the aisle.
Amazing. I love that. That's so good. I have gone to, remember RWA? I used to
Yeah.
love to go to RWA conferences for in large part because of what you've just illuminated. The fact that those women were very much saying, I'm not beholden to anybody. I'm going to take charge of my career, and I know who my readers are and I love them, and I'm not going to do anything to compromise that. They didn't let somebody else steer.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter if they were traditionally published or indie published. And I loved those. I love those gatherings because I walked away feeling really energized. But I think you're pointing out something which is beautiful, which is that is no longer just the domain of romance writers. Like it's
Yes.
something that we can all take hold of and follow. So I love that so much. You've been enthusiastic about a number of authors. So we've got lots of people to link in our show notes. We always do this thing at the end of the show where we say, like, what are you excited about? Like, what writing are you excited about? Are there any films or podcasts or songs that you would want to lift up as being some of your favorites? I noticed that on your song list, your song and scent list,
Yeah.
you had a lot of country artists.
I do. Yeah. I have to be honest, I listen to more pop now, but I will say when I first started, I listened to a ton of country. Taylor Swift is my favorite artist of all time. If you get on there, you're going to see Taylor Swift, Ed Sheeran, Kelsey Ballerini is still one of, you're in Nashville, you have to listen to country music sometimes. But Kelsey I love her. I love her so much and listen to all of her stuff. So I've written a lot of songs to those three artists. And Gracie Abrams, I really love. As far as podcasts, I love the Nate Land podcast. I don't know if you've heard. He's like a Nashville local.
Is that Nate Bargatze?
Oh yeah. He's so funny. I love all of his stand up, and I'm so far behind on his podcast because they're all like so long, like 2 hours long. But I think he's amazing.
Wonderful. I'm totally with you. I've been this week multiple times this week. I have wanted to giggle. And so I've watched the Saturday Night Live skit where he talks about like he's George Washington and he's talking about the metric system.
Yeah.
It's hysterical.
All the ways we're going to spell things. Yeah, he's so funny. I love him. I also love Glennon Doyle's podcast, We Can Do Hard Things. That's one that I listen to all the time. Glennon, her book Untamed, that's one of my favorite nonfiction books. I love it so much. And then when she started the podcast, I started listening to it, and I'm way behind. I don't listen to audio books or podcasts very often. Like I said, with a daughter at home all the time, I have limited time to do that.
You're in a very particular moment in time. 7 years old is an amazing age, but it's also like you're still in the weeds, mama. Still
very much so.
16. So my youngest is 16. So I'm at this point. I'm like, oh yeah, it's time for a podcast.
Nice. Yes, I look forward to those days because I put something in and then she has a question and it's what was that? And so I just kind of give up. The other one that I listen to often is Call Her Daddy with Alex Cooper. I really like that. It's like a celebrity podcast. So she gets like celebrities on there and interviews them. And I find those so fascinating I skip around on those and listen to the ones that I'm really interested. Like I loved Kelsey Ballerini had an interview. I loved Lucy Hales. I love Kamala Harris's interview that she just did with her. She's had some really good ones, but so that one's not one that I listen to like in order like I do the others. But I really do skip around and find the celebrities I'm interested in hearing about. So that's interesting.
Oh, I love it. That's great. That's great. Wow. Well, we're going to have a lot of people listening to the WriterFest podcast because of you, Kiersten. And also we're all looking forward to seeing you at WriterFest on November 22nd and 23rd. Come out here and just a little, like by the time this podcast drops, it will only be just a few days. So that's going to be super fun. And you'll be there in conversation with Margaret Riley King.
Yep. She's very good friend of mine. I love Margaret. She's the sweetest. And I was really excited when she asked me to do this. I love talking about the possibilities because I don't think people understand the possibilities. I know I didn't when I got started. It was really just always something I wanted to do kind of as a hobby. I wanted it to be my career, but I didn't know if it was possible. And so I love getting to talk to people who really want that the same way I did, and want to just need to see someone, a little bit higher up that has made it happen. And I think that's what people need sometimes to put the work in and make it happen. So
that's right. You're realizing your dream, and that will help us realize ours, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for making time to talk to us. And before we go, can you give us a writer tip?
Ooh, okay. My writer tip is you don't get time to write, you make time to write. So you have to carve it out. You have to set your schedule, turn off your phone, and do it. Excellent. That's the only way you'll get it done.
That's right. Good challenge. Good challenge. I like that so much. Thank you so much for making time for us. And now I guess you're going to get back to writing and doing all the amazing things you do. We can't wait to see what you come up with next. Remind us how to stay in touch with you.
So I'm on all of the socials, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and it's just at Kiersten Modglin author. And then I'm on my website and I have a newsletter. So same thing, my first and last name, author.com.
Well, we will put all of that in the show notes so people can find you easily. And hopefully they'll find you at WriterFest, where I know you're going to be doing a signing. So we're all looking forward to seeing you there.
Awesome. I can't wait. Thank you again for having me. This was so fun.
Thank you. It's the best. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the WriterFest podcast. If you like what you've heard, hit that subscribe button and consider leaving us a 5-star review. For more information, please visit WriterFestNashville.com. And you can like and follow us on our socials for updates, including news about our live 2-day event for writers who want to grow their craft and career. I hope to see you there.